You're listening to iCannabisRadio.com.
All right, it is a rainy Thursday, May 9th, here in Colorado. It's kind of nice. We need the rain.
I like it.
Yeah. Joining me today, I'm David, of course. Joining me is Sam Isaacs,
Hey, everyone.
one of our producers here at iCannabis. And then our special guest today is Paul from Tokin Daily. How are you doing today, Paul?
I am quite well, thank you.
Excellent. So tell us a little bit about Tokin Daily, Paul, so we can kind of... everybody, all of our listeners who don't know who you are can find out.
Get a little background on it.
Yeah.
Tokin Daily is a video series that I started back in 2009 that is a 7-day-a-week, literal daily show. It's real blog style. I started out with good intentions on keeping it very topic-orientated, keeping it worthwhile content.
We all try to do that.
You too, yes. But it's a matter of doing something 7 days a week over a period of time. Suddenly you kind of run out of those worthy topics.
No, I get it. I mean, we do this show once a week, and sometimes I feel like we should do a 2-hour show instead of an hour, and we may change that format down the line. But then you have John Doe Radio that does it every single day, and I feel like I'd just be spinning my wheels if I was doing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it takes a certain level of just being able to talk. Just babbling, which is what the show really is some days for me now.
Yeah.
But I really try to have fun with it. The one thing I absolutely try to stress in every show is a level of positivity.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
It doesn't matter what kind of mood I'm in that day. When I hit record on my camera, my mood snaps into a good, positive mood.
Very cool.
And in doing that, that's the one thing that has really helped over the years, just develop an audience base that appreciates that feeds off of that positivity.
Sure.
And seeing the results of that is a great thing.
Now, where can an audience member come to check you out?
If you go onto YouTube, you can search of a couple different things. You can search Tokin Daily. That will bring it up. The actual web address is youtube.com/TokinGLX. That a lot of people do ask me about the name, where the GLX comes from.
Yeah,
or a lot of people ask, or they will say it's Toking when it's just Tokin.
Right.
And that just comes from my car, one of my old cars. It's a Mustang GLX.
Nice.
So that's
where it came from. Now, what caused you to start doing Tokin Daily?
Before that, for the previous 3 to 4 years or so, I'd been uploading videos on occasion, just randomly, whenever. Sometimes once every month, every few months, or then it got a little more often. And that was always, not always, usually plant-based, because I was a grower at the time. And back, I think it was in 2006, I bought an HD cam. Spent $1,000 on a video camera, and I said, "Fuck it." I'm growing legally here in Colorado. I was a medical grower at the time, so I just went for it. I started uploading videos in high definition, and after I built up a few of those, I started noticing that while there were other growers out there uploading videos, not many of those videos were in high definition. So,
and you want to see the flower in high def.
Exactly. And myself, I've always been a bit of a photo bug. So I always liked with my videos to get really great, crisp shots rather than a really quick, sweeping thing where you don't really see all of that bud porn that you would really, really want to see.
Right.
So that's where really about the first 100 videos of mine came from.
Gotcha.
Just doing them randomly whenever. And then one day I sat down and I said, all right, let's do it every day. I think I can do this now. I had a little bit of an audience built up at the time, so I started it and it sustained itself.
Cool. Very cool. Well, you mentioned something that's I'm going to go a little off topic for a second because I wanted to talk about this today and kind of get your opinion and yours as well, Sam, on this. So the House bill was just passed with the regulations, and they have decided to treat all cannabis magazines like they're porn. Which is obviously kind of upsetting to me. If something like that were to pass through, even though it's been signed, we will be putting up a bit of a fight, and I can't get too into the legal matters on that, but the Hemp Connoisseur is going to be confronting with other publications as well the state for doing an unconstitutional act. because they're violating our freedom of speech.
Right. Yeah, I did see even High Times kind of released something about this, saying that if it happens, this was a few days ago that I read this, that they'd fight it tooth and nail.
Yeah, and honestly, High Times is affected more than anybody else because in the verbiage they're talking about, they say sold. Now, when we consulted with a lawyer, a constitutional lawyer, who said this is absolutely unconstitutional, but sold doesn't mean free is
given away.
Is taken away. So we thought maybe it didn't apply to us. And then the other question was, well, is it enforceable? How are they going to go into every 7-Eleven that we're distributed, and we're in like 48 7-Elevens down in Colorado Springs alone, and tell them not to carry us? And then I realized, well, they could just go to the Attorney General route and send letters out to all the convenience stores saying that they can't do that. And they're not going to look at the nuance of the ruling, and say, oh, well, we're not selling these. They're just being given away, so who cares? But so very interesting that this Amendment 64 that was touted as regulate marijuana like alcohol has done everything they could in the legislative process to treat it like porn, like poison almost. I mean, like, heroin almost has been legalized instead of, treating it and regulating it like alcohol. So I just find it interesting that there's no regulations on alcohol advertising. They're not worried about kids picking up a magazine that has advertising for Budweiser in it. But, God forbid, they learn about cannabis and its medical usage. So I don't know. What do you think? I mean, do you think it's a worthy fight for us to do?
Oh, I think it's a quite worthy fight to take up. I think it's pretty fucked up that's what they're doing.
It is. It's like I said, we're losing 180. If this is allowable, and if we can't fight it or whatever, we're looking at losing 180 locations minimum that the Hemp Connoisseur is distributed in. So we're the second most affected magazine or publication next to High Times. High Times is more affected because they are a sold publication, and from now on they can't be in the front counter where they can sell the magazine. And now, so
where they've been sold for
where they've been sold for years,
decades.
I'm subscribed because I come from Pennsylvania, so I'm subscribed to them. So
Right.
I could never get them.
because you couldn't get them there.
Yeah, so I was like, bring them over.
Right.
And you know what? They kind of look like porn because they're you can't see the magazine. It's inside of
behind a little bracket thing. Probably.
well, when I get it, it's like in a case that's clearly it's like,
Right,
oh, what's
right.
he have as a Playboy?
Well, and
Now
it's funny.
like, it's High Times.
Because we have those issues with companies like King Soopers or supermarkets where they'll sell the wine Spectator. That's okay. Or beer or alcohol magazines that are specifically geared towards it, but they won't touch cannabis. And again, I mean, we're all preaching to the choir here, but I mean, are you guys for real that you're saying that cannabis is more dangerous than alcohol?
Right.
I mean, the 5 nanogram passed, which
something
is
else, which is ridiculous.
that is I think actually more ridiculous because it affects individual patients more than companies such as ours. I mean, I think with us, we're talking about unconstitutionality of a law. With the 5 nanograms, I don't know if we can say it's unconstitutional, but we can definitely say it's unscientific.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what William Breed set out to prove.
I was just going to say, yeah.
What was that, a couple of years ago now?
He did it a couple years ago. He had Dr. Shackelford, who writes for us in the magazine, highly respected physician who obviously touts the many benefits of medical cannabis, but also responsibility of physicians in dealing with medical cannabis too. And he was like, absolutely, this should not pass. Because I think I just reread the William Breeze piece with Shackelford, and he tested for 26 nanograms, and the last time he had smoked was 15 hours before, the day before. So he was legally absolutely sober, but like with 26 nanograms in his system,
By that definition, he was impaired.
Because, I mean, what is the blood alcohol content rule right now? Is it 0.08?
5.
It's 0.0. They brought it down.
Oh wait, no, it might be 0.08, but
0.08.
Right.
So it's the equivalent of blowing a 0.32? Something like that, almost more than a 0.32, which would be insane. You would be like pretty much, that's all like alcohol poisoning right there. What's that? Yeah, I mean, you're so drunk, it's ridiculous. And so it's just, there's no equivalent, and the problem is like you don't pass a rule just because you think you should do it politically, which is what this was. Let's be real, it's political.
It was pushed by Hickenlooper, and he, of course, is going to sign it,
Well, he hasn't signed it yet, but he will be signing it in the next couple of days, I believe. But yeah, the nanogram rule, absolutely insane.
Well, yeah, I don't have a car, so I don't, that doesn't affect me, but I mean, I don't want to get a car because then I'll be illegal.
Well, all of us will be.
Yeah.
All of us will be. I mean, if you just smoke on a regular basis, even if you're not a heavy smoker, you just take, 3 tokes a day.
Just having it constantly in your
It's
system.
it's going to build up.
It's going to build that all.
So, you're talking about you're always going to be over 5 nanograms. So you're telling me that I'm always violating and breaking laws.
Yes.
And it's just absolutely the most insane thing I've ever heard.
It's almost scary.
It is scary. It is scary.
scary.
It's got this very 1984 feel to it or something.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're gonna drive? Well, just know that you can, I mean, I'm illegal. I'm always over 5 nanograms.
I'm always as soon as I get in the car and I start that car, I am breaking the law.
I have a DUID coming to me, possibly.
Yeah. Could you imagine that?
That's just scary.
Yeah, it's just so. They put in, and I saw the quote from Rob Corey saying, "Well, before it was 100% bad, and now it's 95% bad because there's supposedly a little allowable." Well, we know that you're testing 5 nanograms, and we're not going to say automatically that you're impaired, but you may have to go to court and prove that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So you're basically saying that no matter what, I have to go to court, whether I'm sober or not, just to fight this. I mean, absolutely insane. I mean, you think of how much money is going to be spent on a lot of bullshit cases.
Well, as it would stand, if a cop saw somebody, just any random person with a marijuana leaf on their shirt or their hat, just stuff like that, they could charge that person for if they see them getting in a car.
In a car, yeah.
They could just instantly walk up and arrest them.
Well, and I'm worried about, our other company owns the distribution rights for cannabis energy drink, and we just had 3 of our cars, our employees, our sales guys' cars, wrapped with cannabis energy drink, and there's pot leaves all over the car. It's really cool. It looks great, but they're driving around in a green pot leafed car. So I'm wondering how many times those guys are going to get stopped. And obviously all of our guys know, look, don't carry, even though you're legally allowed to carry something on you, up to an ounce now, and no matter where you go, as long as you're over 21, we're like, don't even bother. Don't have a pipe on you. Don't have anything on you when you're driving your wrapped car. It is just not a good idea, because you're probably going to get stopped just because you have that on your car. And that's messed up. It's absolutely ridiculous. You don't see a Budweiser or a truck driving around and they pull them over just because they want to test them for blood alcohol, but it is the way it is. A crazy situation, I think. I think we're talking about quite a few legal battles that are going to be coming up. The nanogram test needs to be fought tooth and nail.
I think it will be.
And obviously this advertising ban to the level of freedom of speech being violated. I get the whole sign spinning thing. I do get the whole sign spinning thing. I mean, if we want to say, okay, you can't be within 1,000 feet of a school, and then there's a sign spinner within 1,000 feet of the school, and I understand that. And there's certain allowable things like billboards. I still don't think that they should have banned billboards either.
Right. I don't think that
you drive down any street with billboards, and you see Crown Royal or or Coors Light everywhere. And
I did see a billboard driving with Chris. I was like, I forget because I was really medicated, but I was like, that's a billboard for some like Canopages, something like that.
That's different though, because they're not a dispensary.
Oh, okay.
So we could do a billboard.
So you could, okay, maybe it was
supposedly we could do a billboard, because in the writing of the law it didn't say media companies couldn't advertise themselves.
So confusing.
Well, obviously that's kind of, I think it's done purposefully all the time to make that confusing and ambiguous, and as generally as possible so they can interpret it how they will. And that was what we were told on the sold thing, because I read it, I was like, well, sold. Well, that we're not sold, so we shouldn't have an issue. And then the lawyer's like, well, that depends on what interpretation somebody could look at it. Because, yes, it's not sold as far as a financial transaction is being done, but it's available and free. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm like, I don't get what the heck you're talking about. To me, sold is sold. It means there was some kind of money exchange.
Sold requires a transaction.
But he said you can leave it up to interpretation. And if you leave it up to interpretation, of course, they're going to interpret it how they will.
Yeah.
So if I say, well, it doesn't apply to us because we're not sold, they're going to be like, well, no, that's not what we meant when we said sold. It's like it was like what the old Clinton thing. What's the definition of is? And he depends on what the definition of is, and so that's what we're going to have to deal with. So we got a nice little fight coming on our on the hands here, and it's kind of our chance to be thrown under the fire with everybody else in the industry. I think we've generally stayed clean being in the media. And I'm sure you have as well with Tokin Daily, Paul. I mean, it's like they're not coming after you or me because we have that freedom of speech thing. But man, you go ahead and try to violate my freedom of speech as a publication. Now I'm going to have a big issue. So, we have to go to break. We'll be back with Paul from Tokin Daily, and I'm going to actually let him talk more now because I had to get off my soapbox about this because I'm ridiculously pissed about this. And
that's a worthy cause to get out there. To
well, it
people know
is.
that it's going on right now.
It is, and I don't feel like I'm just fighting for my company here. I do feel like we're fighting for the freedom of speech for anybody in the cannabis industry. It's just that we're going to be on the forefront, and in fact, I kind of welcome the fact that we get to be at the forefront of a fight this time around, because everybody else has kind of put themselves out there, and we've been able to sit back and report about it. So it's kind of. I'm not, I'm a silver lining guy like you. I try to be positive about everything.
On the bright side.
And on the bright side, this gives us a chance to kind of see what kind of metal we're made of as a company when it comes to fighting for our rights. And it's kind of our turn. So, but obviously we have patient rights that we really have to fight for as well. So it's going to be a dual fight. We'll be back just a moment with Paul from Tokin Daily. Thanks for listening to Hemp Connoisseur, and we'll see you in just a minute.
Indispensary in Colorado Springs is proud to support Overgrow the Radio. With 2 locations in Colorado Springs, Indispensary invites you to discover what true selection and values feel like. Always featuring an incredible array of Stanley Brothers medicine as well as full line of edible and infused products. Indispensary is open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week, 364 days a year. You owe it to your health and well-being to discover Indispensary. Westside location at 3044 West Colorado and Eastside location at 3031 East Platte in Colorado Springs. Indispensary is your destination for indispensable quality medicine.
The chocolatiers at Incredibles are dedicated to crafting the finest chocolate from high-quality ingredients to ensure the greatest possible medicated edibles in the world. Consistency and quality are top priority. Lab testing on each and every batch. Rick and Josh have been making non-medicated chocolates for years for such retail outlets as Whole Foods and Vitamin Cottage. Today, we are focused on crafting our award-winning medicated incredible chocolate bars. We are professional bakers, and we believe food should be made from scratch. We guarantee your satisfaction. Have an incredible day.
California's Attorney General has determined that the Repeal Cannabis Prohibition Act will save hundreds of millions of dollars from our overburdened justice system while creating hundreds of millions in new tax revenues from new sustainable jobs and industries that are friendly to our environment. But we can't do it without your help. We are seeking your donations to get on the ballot. Please go to repealcannabisprohibition.org to learn more about how you can help. It's time to end the war on cannabis and hemp in California. It's time to end the madness. Paid for by Sensible Californians Incorporated.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we are back at the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. It's a gloomy Thursday, but I love this rain.
I like the weather.
I love this. I mean, we've been so dry. And then, we've had so much snow in April, and then all of this rain is awesome because I don't have to turn my sprinklers on. I'm actually I'm working on germinating my seeds for my tower garden. I have we had a show a couple weeks ago with Jason Love and Valerie Leeds. Thank you. I almost forgot her name. And they sold me. They sold me on a tower garden. Have you seen these before, Paul?
No, I haven't.
They're really cool. It's like this 20-gallon reservoir at the bottom, and it towers up, and then you have this 20 sections, so you can grow 20 different fruits, vegetables, anything that's not like big rooted, like tree rooted or anything, or root vegetables. You can't do those. And I'm going to do a test also with one of them, and I'm doing it for the first time. I've never actually grown cannabis before, and I will be testing my tower garden with some cannabis, and I'll try growing a little bit. Just seeing how it works, really. But my seeds are germinating right now, and they're loving this rain, which is nice. So I'm excited to see that, and I'll probably send some pictures online at some point to show the progress. Well, who knows? Maybe a tower garden. It's aeroponics. Maybe it'll grow cannabis really well. It's low maintenance, so that's why I do it, because I'm lazy and don't have the time to really grow. So I'll keep everybody updated as the progress of that. But yeah, I love this rain, man. I mean, my grass is great. I'm going to have to mow my lawn next week for the first time, and it's kind of nice because I have a terrible lawn. I have one of those lawns. All my neighbors have really nice lawns, and then mine is just like, I get the brown patch that's just like sun-drenched and dry and dead, and everybody else and I water it just as much as my neighbors, and theirs just look better. So it's kind of nice to, maybe I can compete this time around. So we were talking about Tokin Daily. Are you doing anything else within the industry right now?
Yeah, I also work at the dispensary. I work with River Rock.
You do work with River Rock, right? Okay. River Rock is a sponsor of ours, so we do seem to have a lot of people from River Rock on. But honestly, one of the reasons why we have River Rock people on all the time is because there's some of the most knowledgeable people in the industry.
Well, yeah, one of the things I can say about the owner, about Tony, is that he has a mission to have the best center. So in that mission, he's seeking out the best people qualified for every position.
Well, and that's one of the things I've noticed. It's just the quality of everybody at River Rock that I've met from, when it comes to the account. I've actually said this because, I have a lot of advertising. I love all of our advertisers, and they're all great. But River Rock just seems to be the easiest people to deal with. If I need something from them, it's like, done. Here it is. Oh, you need your payment? Here it is. It's like next day. And it's like, wow. If that was the way it was with everybody, my job would be like 10 times easier. So obviously I love working with all of those guys, and we got to hang out with Tony yesterday, and he showed me firsthand the down temping, which I'm still amazed by. I know he's very proud and loves showing people this because it is very cutting edge. And honestly, I would not be the proper person to explain the down temping. I mean, I watched it happen, but it's crazy that you're turning this powder into shatter in next to no time at all. That was blowing my mind. I mean, it was like I'd never seen anything like that. I've never seen the actual hash transform.
From one physical state to another.
From one physical state to another, with really no work, not losing the THC content. In fact, increasing the flavor of it.
Yep.
Because we tested first the powder. We did a little dab, and I'm not a big dab guy, so Tony was nice to me. It was very light, but we did a little dab. And one thing I always say about all the River Rock product: clean, super clean. But it didn't have a huge amount of flavor in it. And then he did the down temping and basically, turned it into more of a mold, and all of a sudden it trapped those terpenes and all the flavor in there. And then we tried it. It was like, wow, it was a lot more flavor. Yep. Still clean though. I mean, still immensely clean. And I think that's one of the things that really stands out to me with River Rock's hash.
Well, and that's the thing. They always strive to get to the powder first.
Right.
And that powder is just an extremely clean product. It's just that it's not activated in the same way that almost any other butane extracts out there are, because of the way that it's purged.
Right.
So when you do apply the heat for the down temping, that turns the powder into the shattery state. And that activates all of the terpenes for the first time.
It was crazy because I'm watching him mold.
Oh, he likes playing with it.
Yeah, it was like I was like, this is redefining silly putty. Because I mean, he was shaping it, he was turning it into all these different forms. Which, if you guys have the most recent issue of the Hemp Connoisseur, you'll look at River Rock has a 2-page ad with us. On one side it says Priva, on the other side is the side that everybody is like, what the fuck is that? And it looks like a hash snowman, and that was just the first example of shaping, just taking the hash and molding it with basically your hands, and they just rolled it into balls and put it on there. And one of the things that really sticks out with me in that is when you do that down temping, you can handle the hash, and none of the residue that, at least tactically, I couldn't feel any of it sticking to my hands.
Right. It basically is self-adhesive to itself, and unless you have a certain strain. There are certain strains out there that are just plain more oily than others, and you can't handle them quite the same way. But for the most part, when you're doing that, the process that Tony's doing with the powder to the down temping, you don't have to worry about that, because for the most part, the strains that I'm talking about that are super sticky, they just almost refuse to powder up.
They won't powder up.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good
They'll
to know.
always keep that stickiness to them.
Now, what kind of strains are you talking about with that are like super sticky and oily? Are there some that stick out for you, or?
I'm not even too certain offhand.
You just know that there are some that do that. Now, what do you do for River Rock? Are you growing for them, or?
I have a small grow room of my own. My little personal grow is there, so I tend to my plants, and I also work in the drying room, the cure room there.
Okay.
So I'm a part of the process right before it goes up to the front of the house and gets sold to the patients.
Right on. It's funny because I got to take a tour of Harborside a long time ago, and really no dispensary like that in the world. The way it's set up and all that. But like I would say in Colorado, the ones that are more sophisticated. I mean, you're saying you have a drying room that you work in.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are other dispensaries that have that.
Oh, yes.
But it's just so interesting to think about how regiment, that this is my job. I go in and dry. I don't do the entire process. I'm specifically focused on this one process. Well,
oh, yes. My job is beautiful. I walk into that room, and there are racks just lining the walls. And it's basically set up to a point where there are certain days when plants get cut. Those dates are marked on the tag.
Right.
And when that rack is due, that rack will come down. So then I take it down. The plants or the branches get desticked from there, and from there they basically get processed and then are ready to send up front.
So it goes to somebody. So you're the last person that it sees in a way.
Yep.
Before it goes up front.
Yep.
Understood. Got it.
I'm the final level of quality control.
The final level of quality control. Right on. Now, is part of that quality control to test it out?
I do believe that it is.
It's got. I mean, you have to try your product,
Exactly.
just like
Oh, of
any
course.
good chef. Every
Yes.
good chef tries everything before it
Absolutely.
goes out.
Indeed.
I would
Yeah.
because I'm specific on the ash. If to me, if the ash doesn't turn white,
Well, that's a bad sign. Yeah, absolutely.
to me it's bad. Some people are like, well, to me, I've had ash that turns white and turns black. Specifically, if the ash turns white, oh, that's good. And you
Yes.
only know that if you smoke it.
That's
Indeed.
true. You're absolutely right.
So you got to test it.
Yeah. You want to explain to some of our listeners that don't understand what you mean by why white ash is opposed to black ash?
Well, when I learned this, it was basically if it turns white, it means that it was flushed properly, so that all the nutrients is out of the cannabis.
Right.
It's out of the flower. It's not still inside, because if it turns black, you know that
Chemicals are in there.
you smoked some nutrients.
Yes.
And you might have a bad taste. A couple of days ago, I smoked some, and it smelled great. It looked great. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And I smoked it, and I was like, ugh. And guess what? The ash was black. And I went home, and I smoked my stuff, and it was delicious, and the ash was white. And I just, I read in the book, in one book, it was a growing book, Indoor Outdoor, and said if that ash is white, it has been properly flushed.
Yes.
So
You're speaking
it's-
more of flour. I mean,
flour.
Yeah, hash doesn't.
Yes.
That doesn't necessarily.
Doesn't
Well,
quite
actually,
apply.
What's that?
It said it doesn't quite apply.
It doesn't quite apply.
I've had
exactly.
a hash turn, like bubble hash turn white, but
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's where just hash itself is a quite broad term at this point.
It really is a broad term.
We're talking
We were
about flour.
talking about this yesterday because I'm going around and I'm going to be meeting with all the past contestants in the Hemp Connoisseur Championship over the next month or so, because we're going to be doing early registration in our June issue coming out next month too. And I'm trying to find ways to improve it. And that was one of the things we talked about was, well, we only had a general concentrate category the first time, because we didn't expect huge submissions the first time around, but we already know that there's going to be a lot of submissions this time around, and so we will be categorizing it differently. So that you're going to be having you're going to have the shatter category. We'll have an oil category, and then we'll have the wax hash category. I mean, it's a little more of a general term, I think, but I guess we'll be doing the hash category.
And all three of those, that kind of just applies to the butane extracts.
It does kind of, and we're going to have a solventless category as well. We will have a solventless, which is kind of funny because solventless isn't really accurate either.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't even say I don't really like to use the term of solventless when talking about water
Bubble
extracts.
hash, yeah.
Even bubble hash itself. Both of those terms are marketed terms.
Yes.
Bubble hash was basically marketed by the Bubble Man.
Yeah.
The person that is probably absolutely responsible for popularizing water hash as we know it. So huge, big props to him. But I met Nick T a few years ago, and he was the first person that I met that was kind of against using bubble hash. He's like, I don't use bubble bags, so this isn't bubble hash.
Right.
So when Nick T started his process, he started calling it solventless.
Yeah. But he's still using a solvent. That's the thing. I mean, really, right?
There, again, talking about definitions of words,
Right.
solvent comes into play because the only thing that water works as a solvent for when you are making hash with water hash are the leachable nutrients, basically, that are in the leaves. THC itself isn't affected. It's not a water-soluble molecule.
Okay.
That just deals with the polar and the non-polar properties of molecules and stuffs. So that's where, is a solvent, water that is, but it doesn't work as a solvent in this process. It's really just working as a medium to carry the trichomes from the plant to.
So we'll probably just call it the
itself.
H2O solvent category or something like that. You know?
I mean, I just say water hash.
Water
That's
hash. We'll just call it
really
water
what
hash.
it is. Have water hash and.
So yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
What about like dry ice?
What's that?
Would dry ice fit into the category of
That would be a completely different category. Even you'd have the dry sift, which is basically what that is. Because for the most part, the dry ice just works to freeze the trichomes on the buds as you're sifting it through the screen. And dry sift is one of my favorite types of a concentrate to smoke.
Really? But so if I was to create a category, that would almost have to be its own category.
That would be another category, the dry sift.
Are there a lot of people out there doing the dry sift?
Anybody with a keef screen really could have an entry in that.
Right.
Because that's all it is. It's keef.
Well, then we
pressed
should.
or none.
You know, you should have those categories and tell people, hey, I know people with keef.
That's a lot of categories.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, because we're looking at having 20 patient judges for every category, and then probably about 5 connoisseur/celebrity judges is what we're looking at. So we're looking at 25 total judges plus the testing, and then. So that's the hard part is if you get such a specific category, I don't want those judges to be like, oh, great, there was 4 entries for that. I'm so glad I did this. You know what I mean? So that's the hard part, is like so it may be, they may be voting on 2 categories. Then maybe it's dry sift and water hash is all kind of one category for people who are really afraid of butane extraction. And maybe they get to test both of them and vote on both of them. So, obviously I'm not going to make this up as I go along while we're on the radio show, but these are the things I think about. They're ideas, and obviously, I go through. This process was like a 6-month process last year, and that's why I'm already working on it right now because it's to make sure that we have a cannabis championship that has integrity. It's blind. It's been blind. There's actually another publication out there that stated in their last issue that they're doing the first blind cannabis competition in Colorado, and that's absolutely inaccurate for any of those who know that we did one. And there was also I believe Best Meds was blind as well down in Colorado Springs. So we're not the only ones who have done it, but
that's the thing. At this point, to say you're going to be doing the first of anything,
you better know.
You better know.
You better know.
Yeah, it's like a slogan, like the original.
Right.
And it's like, you
because that happened. The guys. Okay, we have to go to a break. All right, Christian's looking at me like, dude, really, we got to go to a break. All right, we'll come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the championship. Everything else is going on, regulations. We're just kind of a chill day today. Actually, it's always chill when Sam's on the radio.
And Paul's there.
We got a chill group.
River Rock Wellness, located at 4935 York Street and on the corner of 6th and Calumath, right next to Lamar's Donuts at 990 West 6th Avenue, offers in-house award-winning organic medical cannabis flowers, concentrates, tinctures, topicals, edibles, and raw superfoods for all patients. Prices range from $160 to $240 an ounce, with member and non-member benefits including caregiver, SSI, SSDI, vets, travelers, and sponsored programs. With brands you trust like Healthy Creations, Rare Dankness, Rock Butter, Priva, Tokin Daily, and more. Become a River Rock patient or renew with us today and receive a $100 ounce of choice. Offer good through April 20th, 2013.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
The chocolatiers at Incredibles are dedicated to crafting the finest chocolate from high-quality ingredients to ensure the greatest possible medicated edibles in the world. Consistency and quality are top priority. Lab testing on each and every batch. Rick and Josh have been making non-medicated chocolates for years for such retail outlets as Whole Foods and Vitamin Cottage. Today, we are focused on crafting our award-winning medicated Incredible chocolate bars. We are professional bakers, and we believe food should be made from scratch. We get guarantee your satisfaction. Have an incredible day.
Green Faith Ministry is for spiritual guidance, MMJ information, and networking combined with compassionate care on the way to enlightenment with all Green Faith sacraments. Green Faith provides charity assistance, including medical and food throughout the year. Contact them at greenfaithministry.com.
I'm Gary Johnson, and you're listening to iCannabis Radio, and I want to say, talk it up, Colorado.
All right, we're back. Having kind of a chill time today with Sam and Paul from Tokin Daily. Well, Sam's not from Tokin Daily, sorry. Sam's one of our producers. Paul from Tokin Daily. And we were just kind of talking about the championship, and since we were kind of on that subject, and Paul is going to probably be one of our celebrity judges, is my guess. So I kind of want to get your take on, like, have you been involved in any other cannabis championships up to this point?
Not really. I mean, I've been to a few competitions, just like more underground type ones,
Right.
lesser known type ones,
Sure.
stuff that's been going on through the past years.
Right.
But I've never actually been like an
official
real judge of one. Yeah.
Right on. Well, I'm glad we get to help break your cherry on that this time around. What do you like? What are the things that you want to see from something like that? You know, if you're looking at a championship when people are judging, you know, cannabis. I mean, it's, you know, just like wine tastings and beer tastings. It's very subjective, obviously, but you know, that's why we wanted to have some more experts on smoking as
people who have been doing it for a long time.
Yeah,
know it's good and bad.
Exactly. You know.
Well, one of the things that I really like about this one is that it's very respectable. It's exactly all of the things that I wanted to see done in a proper competition. It's been a while ago now, like the very first year that I was doing Tokin Daily, the first few months into it, I don't remember what it was called, but there was a competition that got staged, that got put on, and it was just horrible from start to finish, and it made a lot of money, and pretty much every cent of that money went straight into the organizer's pocket. There was a lot of weed that got entered as for competition, and a lot of that just basically went straight into his pocket. So that prompted me to make a video this long time ago now. And I talked about it then. I wanted to see things done a little bit, at least more, like the Amsterdam model, where it wasn't all done in one day, in one sitting.
Right. That was my big thing, too. Yeah.
It would be over a period of time, and that would allow people to get a good comprehensive feel for each entry that they're judging.
Right.
And I really like the blindness to it and the openness to it, because that way there's nothing that people can say that, oh, this is fixed. Look, they put this much money into it, and they had all this and all that. It's like, well, here we're taking all that away. You don't know what strain it is. You're smoking. It all gets put into a bag, and it's just letters and numbers.
All you know is whether it's what kind of strain, sativa, indica hybrid, what kind of concentrate, or CBD, or edible. You know, the edible, you can't do blind. Obviously.
Right.
It's in the packaging.
Yes.
But that's one of the things that we did was we asked them to rate the packaging, because we felt like the packaging was actually very important. Not just the attractiveness of the marketing of the packaging, but the information on the packaging. That's what seemed to be most important to us.
No, I fully agree with that. The packaging is actually quite a big deal of it, so that should be a judgeable point on an edible.
Yeah, and it was the last time as well. And you know, the company that won for best edible last time, the Growing Kitchen, has nice packaging, but I wouldn't say it was the most slick marketing ever, because that wasn't what they were being voted on. You know what I mean? You know, there were other companies that had really slick marketing packaging, but the information wasn't as good, you know, or the product wasn't as good. But one of the things I think is nice is all the products that pretty much everybody was submitting were their best. You know, they were putting their best foot forward.
The beautiful thing about any actual competition that goes on here in Colorado, you come across a lot of good pot.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful thing to see all of these great strains grown out near perfectly.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, I want to give you props, because you know, we were having a little bit of a brainstorming session, and you came up with an idea that I am absolutely going to do. And I think it was genius. And I always give credit where credit's due. I'm not going to one of those people that takes credit for every idea that our company presents to people is like, oh, this is ours. No, somebody brought it up. And, you know, we were trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to make sure the patients are engaged, all the judges, and to get them the medicine, because we can legally get them the medicine. And we're going to have a pre-party. And that was Paul's idea. We'll do the pre-party a month before the actual awards announcements, so the patients can come, they can get their meds, and I don't want them to smoke all of their meds at the party because,
Right.
again, like you said, that's the whole point of giving them a month to try it is, we expect each patient to have an ounce. You have 28 different strains because you have a gram of each one. Well, you need to try those over 28 days or at least 14 days space between that day.
Give yourself some hours between.
Give yourself
each
some
strain.
hours between. And that was one of the things that was so frustrating because no matter how clear I was last time around, I would have people being like, well, I was like, don't smoke if you're taking an edible. The edibles was a big one because, sometimes there's a delayed reaction.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, look, try the edible. Do not smoke with, an hour before you do the edible at least, or 5 hours after you've taken the edible. And then I would see comments from some of my judges, the patient judges, and they'd be like, well, I waited about 45 minutes and the edible didn't really kick in. And then I smoked a bowl and man, I got really high. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm shaking my head. I'm like, okay, now I can't count your vote because for anything they voted on.
Right,
because it's now skewed, and it made no sense. I was like, well, you're saying you got really high, but you didn't rate the edible as being really high because you're thinking it was the flower that you smoked when it was the combination.
Combination of
exactly.
both, yeah.
And that's one of those frustrating points that you have to deal with. And it's like, hey, we're in an industry with stoners, and the goal is to stoner proof everything. And it was funny because Tony would come up with some ideas like, well, what about doing this? And I'm like, well, we're dealing with stoners. He's like, oh yeah, good point. All right. And I'm like, I have to think about that every single time. How can I make this as simple as possible? Because I imagine that everybody who's reading my instructions is already high. And then I'm like, how can I make that still understandable for them?
Simple sentences.
Simple sentences, simple words, no definitions up for interpretation or anything like that. Yeah. But yeah, so now because of your idea, Paul, we're going to have two parties. We're going to have the pre, and then kind of let the games begin party. And then, it's like, gentlemen, light your bowls.
Very nice.
And then we'll have the post when we do the awards announcements in November. So that's kind of, I love that idea. I think it's great. One of the other ideas that came out of this is we're going to do, because Tony had mentioned a recreational, and we think that is a good point. We should probably do a recreational side cup, not obviously from dispensary. So he was saying caregivers or whatever. But I was like, well, wait a minute. We have all these home growers now.
Yep.
So any of you out there who think that you are growing some really good plants out of your home, just for your own personal consumption, maybe for your friends, you are going to be allowed to be in what we're going to call the Colorado Cannabis Open. And that's part of the Hemp Connoisseur Championship. But, you get to submit your own homegrown product to compete against other home growers and give you some bragging rights.
That's a pretty good idea right there.
I think that's going to be a lot of fun, actually. I think that might be the most active section of it. We're going to make it very reasonable for them to do it. Now, obviously, everything's being tested, and that all goes to Can Labs. We do pay them for their testing because that costs money. So like you said, we're not trying to make a ton of money off of this, but we are going to, obviously, we're going to make some money off of it. But one of the things that we don't do is take sponsorship. And believe me, sometimes I cringe at night when I think about the fact that we're not taking sponsorship because it's thousands and thousands of dollars that would offset any costs that we have. But then also that's what creates that murkiness. Like, oh, well, they sponsored you and then they won.
Yeah.
So we just want to leave no doubt, and that's the idea. So anyway, enough about the championship for right now. We'll talk more about it as the weeks progress. Trying to get the interest going on that. But I already have a ton of patient judges from last championship that we said we'll re-invite because they fully participated and got their votes in time, came to the party, and all that kind of fun stuff. But I'm very excited about putting this on again.
It should be a lot of fun indeed.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have someone such as yourself being one of our judges, and hopefully blogging about it on a regular basis while it's going on. And but I do want to talk more about your blog because I haven't had a chance personally to really listen to it. Like I said, I wanted to get a chance to listen to some of your videos. Do you have any particular ones recently that you're really proud of? You want some people to check out?
Oh boy. Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to even think. I'll talk about what I just uploaded this morning.
Okay.
The previous couple days, I went out to Fort Collins one night, kind of late into the day I got there, but I met up with a fan, basically, who invited me out. So we went up into the mountains, into the Horsetooth Reservoir area.
Oh, I love that area.
It's a great, beautiful area.
Nice. Yeah.
So we just found a quite random spot to pull off that had a nice little spot where we could hike, and not even hike that far, just like a few hundred feet But we found a little spot where we could chill, smoke a bowl, got some footage shot. And then we started walking a little further down, and I heard some water like above me. We're already at elevation.
Right.
So I'm like, ooh, I wonder what's up here. So we go up to the source of the water, and it's a stream that's only visible for about 20 feet. It's about 3 feet wide, and it was gushing. Oops, I hit the microphone. It was gushing pretty fast.
Right.
And it was fenced off, and there was a sign there. It said, "Caution, underground stream." Something about moving swiftly, and then right under that, it said, "Certain death if entered." I was like,
Wow.
"Whoa." That
Certain death. Wow.
Guaranteed
You don't see that kind of an
No. So it was quite notable for me.
And of course, part of you is like,
I want to go in.
I want to go in.
At least dip
man.
my foot in.
I want to tempt fate.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Now I
actually.
totally know where I can go to kill somebody.
Right.
Like,
right.
Let's go take a walk. Let's
Let's take a walk. Oh, dude, they fell into the stream. I told them it was certain
them.
death. You know, it's crazy.
I pointed at the sign.
Are you a big hiker? Do you like to hike a lot?
I do. I'm an outdoors person.
Yeah.
I love getting out in nature, smoking out in nature.
It's one of the great things to do when you're smoking.
It is.
It's the best.
High fives to that from everybody.
It's a different
around.
high. At least to me, it's a different high.
It is. You're right. When you're like, you're high and you're hiking and your body's, the blood's flowing.
You
Right.
got that natural body high going.
Absolutely.
You do. And it's just, you know what? You just enjoy it so much more.
Yep.
You know?
Being cooped up inside.
Yeah.
Like, in Pennsylvania specifically, like you're in the basement, you use a little sploof, and then you go outside and you're like, oh my God, the grass is so green and the birds are so beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's so much different than just cement walls.
It is. And no, you're right. Camping is one of the things I love to do. Are you going to be going to Bongathon this year?
I am, actually. I was not able to go last year. I had tickets last year, but something came up extremely last minute, and I wasn't able to go.
Wow.
So I want to go back. I was there for the first time the year before.
Okay.
And it was just a great experience, one of the greatest weekends of my life.
All right. Well, we're going to talk a little more about that. I had the Bongathon guys on last week. It was a lot of fun, actually. But we do have to go for one final break. And then we'll be back with Paul from Tokin Daily and Sam the Man Isaacs.
Thanks.
Are you a medical marijuana patient or interested in finding out how to become one? Contact Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. Conveniently located on Hamden and Tamarack in the Whole Foods parking lot behind Proof of the Pudding. Mile High Wellness offers a wide variety of edibles, hashes, and some of Colorado's top strains. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern. 3525 South Tamarack, Suite 110, on the corner of Hamden and Tamarack. 720-382-8516. Mile High Wellness, where your care is our concern.
Are you a runner? Are you a runner who supports marijuana legalization? Run on Grass is a group of athletes actively seeking to change our marijuana laws. We speak the truth about cannabis, bringing the message through our feet to new ears. Check out runongrass.com to find out more about us, our events, and how to join up or how to sponsor a runner. If you're in the Denver area, please join us for runs or start a group in your area. Running not your thing? Any sport can do it. On grass. Runongrass.com. Let's face it, rules and regulations are complicated, especially in the field of medical marijuana. Let Medical Marijuana 101 help you get through the compliance process. We can also explain to you your employment requirements, your employees, and your business. But our work doesn't stop there. Our experience in cultivation ranges from the design of grow rooms to the diagnosis and resolution of grow problems. Visit us at www.medicalmarijuana101.com or call 303-388-7706. That's 303-388-7706.
The law offices of Edson Maton and Matz provide criminal defense, medical marijuana defense, and advice about setting up and running medical marijuana centers, optional premises cultivation operations, and infused product manufacturing businesses throughout Colorado. With offices in Denver and Aspen, we can offer assistance throughout the entire state of Colorado. Give us a call at 303-831-8188. That's 303-831-8188. Or visit us online at warrenedson.com.
All right, we are back, and Sam has just informed us that his edible is creeping up on him right now. So we were talking about Bongathon, Paul, and I asked you on the off break, but let's let everybody else hear. Are you going to be competing in Bongathon this year?
That I'm still kind of up in the air about, but probably not.
No.
Just because, admittedly, I do have fairly weak lungs. and like I've kind of mentioned on my own show a few times now because it comes up. I grew up on a farm, and I fought lots of fires that happened just because lightning strikes on our property. That happened as a kid. So I've been engulfed by forest fire smoke before, and that kind of fried my lungs as a kid.
Sure. So, especially if you had it while you're developing as a child.
Yeah. So that's probably going to be the only thing really stopping me from competing.
Right.
The fun factor of it still makes me want to say,
still fun.
Let's do it. Because the last time I was there was not the last year of it, but the year before. And that was one of the greatest experiences of my life, just because everything that happened from getting there to leaving was just excellent.
See, and I've heard that.
It was stoner heaven.
I'm excited because here's a dilemma I have, and I just found this out today. I may be like having a hard time staying in integrity with being my word, which is something that bothers me often. Not often, I mean bothers me whenever that happens, I should say. And one of them is saying, I'm going to Bongathon this year. And then I also said, I'm going to the Clinic MS golf tournament this year. Well, same weekend.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The golf tournament is on Sunday the 4th. So I'm going to try to make a way to make it.
You can still do it. I mean,
I can still
the events
do it.
of Bongathon only take place on Saturday.
Sunday
is the wrapping up day.
I know. So what I'm saying, the only way I could do this really is I go there Friday, camp out Friday night, hang out Saturday, and leave Saturday night to get back in order to do the golf tournament the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's an awesome cause. It's actually one of the best fundraising causes that we have in the cannabis industry right now. The clinic raises tons of money for MS. It's one of the most fun events. So that's going to be like one of the most fun-filled weekends. If I can make it all work and do them both, hell yeah, that's going to be a pretty fun weekend. And I'm going to need another weekend. I'm going to need the next 3 days off to recover. And I'm not a good golfer anyway, so it doesn't really matter how crazy it gets on Friday or Saturday for me. Maybe it'll improve my game. Who knows? But yeah, it's crazy. It's all happening that weekend. It's like, really, guys? Couldn't you guys have communicated and changed that up a little bit? But is what it is. But yeah, man, I'm excited about Bongathon, especially after we had those guys on last week. For those of you who listened last week, if you didn't listen to last week's show, you definitely got to listen to it. That was a blast. I mean, it was just Bongathon war stories.
Nice.
I mean, and 3 past champions just shooting the shit. And I actually had to sit. I sat back. I barely talked in that show, right? Christian's nodding. He's like, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, great stories.
Because they had great stories. I basically just sat back. Every once in a while, I was like, I just laughing. And I'm like, oh, that's hysterical. Oh, and then what happened? And that was about all I had to do. And then what happened? And they're like, oh, yeah, But that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Do you have anything exciting coming up for you for Tokin Daily? You guys working on anything else besides, are you branching out?
I've really been wanting to work more with some of the other YouTubers that are in the area. One of them, Dan from Red Band, works with me, so it's easy to do stuff with him. And my car actually just got fixed after being kind of dead in the water for a while.
So you're mobile again.
Yes, now I'm able to do more of this stuff that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And that really, really helps to keep the show much more interesting, rather than me just sitting in the basement or in my backyard doing what I do.
Now, do you get comments, or do you have people? It's a blog, I understand, but it's a video blog. So
it's on YouTube.
It's pre-recorded, so people do it. Do people? Can they write to you and you respond to them, or anything like that?
The comments on the videos I read, I actually get quite a bit of feedback every day. An average video, about 24 hours later, will have around 200 comments on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So that is one of the best ways for simple contact for me to keep up on. I'm really bad at replying to YouTube messages. So if you go onto YouTube and you send me a message, it's
not happening.
Not much of a chance I'll read that.
Right.
But email and Facebook, those messages, sometimes I don't see right away, but I try to at least get to.
Gotcha.
But even with that, there's a lot of them that come in. So
it's a lot to keep up with. You know, when you have all these marketing avenues. Like we have that issue with the magazine. We have the print version. We have people requesting for subscription program, which is being developed. Any of you who have asked for subscriptions, don't worry. We haven't forgotten about you. You're on a list. You'll hear from us soon. Sorry, I've been getting a lot of those. Yeah, between that and then the social media and keeping up with all the random messages we get, it's definitely a lot of work. Where did that come from?
Oh, that was my phone.
Oh, I'm like, who's taking a hit from a bong right now that I don't see? That's cool.
Yeah,
Hey,
no,
that's your ring.
After I got my phone, I needed a message incoming tone, so I just got one of my bongs, my Mobius, and
Nice.
I actually tried a few different slides in it to figure out which one had the best shunk sound
Right.
to it.
That's
And
funny.
I just press record, press stop.
Everybody's gonna want that
There it
ringtone
was for
now.
everybody.
Everybody's gonna want that. You know that, right? Wow, that's funny. Do you ever talk about hemp on your show?
Not recently. I have in the past.
Okay.
Because I'm a personal big supporter of it.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the people I've been talking with in the industry are big supporters of it. And, and I have to apologize to a lot of our listeners out there because lately we haven't talked a lot about hemp. Not since a couple weeks ago we had Jason Love on and we were talking about it. But, we're waiting for some more developments. The bill did just pass for the hemp legislative bill. Beginning of this week, it was signed through pretty much.
Right on. That's really cool.
It's really amazing work. I've tout them all the time. Hemp Cleans is the lobbying organization. Eric Hunter, Samantha Walsh, Linda Parker, Jason Love. I think I'm forgetting one other person, and I apologize right now. Have done an amazing job of getting that legislation passed through. And, if only the marijuana side was as easy to get passed through properly as the hemp side has been. Life would be much easier for all of us. No First Amendment rights being violated in the hemp bill, and no patients' rights being violated either. Things like, hey, if you use hemp or wear a hemp T-shirt, you're considered a child abuser. Nobody's doing that, so that's. Sorry, just to bring back full circle from the beginning of our conversation this week. I'm still pissed about this. It's just so much work that's going to have to be done for this fight now, and it's like, but like I said, we welcome it. It'll be interesting. It's been an interesting ride for everybody in the industry. So it's like, I guess it's time for us to be on that roller coaster, right? Well, Paul, I'd love to have you back on again. I want to talk more about what you're doing with Tokin Daily and see what we can do to help promote you guys as well.
Right on. That would be a good relationship to work with.
I think so. And honestly, that's one of the things that we need to do more in the Hemp Connoisseur is a little more social media and YouTubing, and I am actually working on creating some more for you guys. So there's something coming down the line that I can't really announce just yet. But I need to learn from a master such as yourself so I can learn these things because I am a technological idiot, which is probably why we still print our magazine because electronically I leave that up to better people than me.
Yeah, hey, one of the things that I'm such a big fan of is doing what I'm comfortable with.
Right.
And just trying to do that really well.
Yeah. Yep. And and that's one of those things that I try to do all the things I'm comfortable with, and yet I'm always doing the things that make me really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
it just seems like that's what happens.
Technology outpaces you no matter what you think.
It really does, man. And it's like there's so much to the technology side, and now there's so much to digest from this bill on what people can do. I mean, it was very weird. One of the other things in the advertising thing was no mass market website. Or something. I'm paraphrasing it right now, which not necessarily a good thing when you're talking about legal words. But there was something about like no mass media publications. You can't advertise in a mass media market, which again to me seems like a complete violation of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
When you're telling me I can't advertise in a mass media publication or market online. I mean, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, because Weed Maps is mass media, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Are you saying that they can't advertise in Weed Maps now? I mean, you're telling them restrictions on how they can present themselves. Absolutely insane. And these things, by the way, were voted down by the Supreme Court when it came to some regulations on tobacco and alcohol before, when it came to that. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen with this fight.
Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of actually taking the fight through to the end.
It really is. It would be a matter of taking the fight through the end, because if you're telling me that it's okay to advertise alcohol and tobacco and be in newspapers and magazines where kids can pick it up, but cannabis, it's like, all right, let's talk about the combined deaths caused by those two substances alone. I mean, just one of them is enough, but Jesus, and again, nobody dying. Well, actually, did you hear about there is a marijuana related death now, and their media is grabbing onto this and making a very big deal about it. And one of the touts they said was an overdose, which is the wrong terminology to use. Somebody dabbed a lot, got dizzy, fell down and cracked their skull on like a stair or something. I've heard this secondhand, so I'm on my way here actually. And the media was like, oh no, they overdosed on cannabis and then they died. It's like, no, they got really, really high on dabs, which again can be something that people should be wary of if they never dabbed before, of course, and then got dizzy, fell, cracked their head. Well, we're not outlawing ice, which kills thousands of people a year or hundreds of people a year for that very same accident. You know, alcohol, God forbid, we talk about how many people die from cracking their heads open on that, or just, you know, cigarettes. And nobody's cracking their head open from smoking a cigarette. You know, let's be honest.
Well, it's the same thing. You could be smoking a cigarette, you trip, and after you trip, you accidentally hit your head on the corner or something, and you die. That would be a cigarette-related death.
That's a cigarette. Like, I dropped my cigarette down the stairs. I go to reach for my cigarette, and I tumble down the stairs and die. That's a cigarette-related death.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, then there's been a lot of marijuana-related deaths of people getting really stoned and driving and then crashing.
No, there actually hasn't.
Hasn't?
No,
Yeah,
that's kind of the whole argument on the nanogram thing. And
one person in this whole country is like just first time smoking, getting really almost tripping, and driving like a dummy.
That's a hard one to make an argument for, though, Sam, because generally, first of all, if you're a first-time smoker and you smoke, you're probably paranoid about driving.
Yes.
You don't get the beer muscles. You're not. There's no such.
There's
no
such.
such.
So
you know what I'm saying? There's no such thing as cannabis muscles, or
no, because it relaxes you. You're like, how could I ever work out?
Yeah. Nobody's like, dude, I'm going to smoke a bowl. I'm going to jump off this roof into this pool five stories down. No, alcohol causes those things. Again, we talked about this before. There's no really interesting story from a stoner. They have a great time, and you enjoy it when you get high, but you never like, dude, I got to tell you about some crazy shit that happened last night. First of all, we got really high on this joint, and then
we ate a cake.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, and then we watched
games.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. It was legendary. No, the story is generally like, well, first of all, dude, last night was ridiculous. We got really drunk. And like that's like every alcohol story that you've ever heard.
Or they'll follow that with, and then I can't remember anything, but I woke up naked in the bathtub with puke covering me.
And my hand was super glued to my junk. That's the thing though, is like,
I guess it's like I personally don't know any kid that ran with scissors and then poked his eye out, but I'm sure there has to be one.
Oh, of course. Stuck a fork in an outlet, but when it comes to the and I want to be clear about what the statistics have shown, and I'm not going to be able to, but average alcohol related vehicle accidents went down 9% in every state that regulates marijuana. Wow. So it's hard to make the argument that marijuana causes more accidents, or there's people who died from accidents, because there's generally, when you look at the statistics, if somebody says, oh well, they were high and they got into an accident, it was like, well, were they drinking too?
Oh yeah.
And then all of a sudden you find out, oh yeah, they were. Oh well, let's talk about what really impaired them then,
or what other drugs
were in their system. It's just like anything else. I mean, you take NyQuil, they'll say don't drink while you're doing this. Somebody out there would say, hey, if you're smoking weed, then don't drink at the same time. I mean, of course, plenty of people do it. I've always come from the school of learning, basically learning the hard way is pot before beer, you're in the clear.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but if you smoke after you've been drinking, you will get sick.
Right.
Everybody here knows that one, right? They're like, oh yeah, dude.
What about if you do it at the same time?
If you do them at the same time,
if you're just like, oh yeah.
Oh, if you're starting from scratch at the same time, I think you're actually okay. Because the pot's going to affect you and line your stomach before you get to the point where you're really drunk.
Because I've done that before when I was younger, and I've smoked a little bit, and then I drank a little bit, and it was like diluted with like Sprite or something,
Right.
And I was like, I just felt so euphoric. Like I didn't feel spinny.
It's different, and
great.
Some people really do like to mix their pot and alcohol. I actually don't.
No, I don't. but it's just once in a lifetime.
Yeah, well, personally, I don't like to drink.
Me neither.
You know, I mean, I was a bartender for 20 years, and
it's not your cup of tea.
Well, you know, it's funny because when you've been doing it that long, you either become a raging alcoholic or become a teetotaler, and thank God I was the teetotaling side because, you know, I would deal with drunk people on a regular basis, you know, and it was hysterical because the whole time I'm bartending, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, God, I'd so much rather be serving stoners. This would be so much better, you know. And if I was 20 years younger, I'd be a bartender right now.
Yeah, that's what I'll be.
Yeah,
in 1 year.
But well, actually, yeah. If I was 20 years younger, I'd actually be too young to be a bartender. Almost there. But, you know, that is one of those things I always said, and most bartenders will say that, and cops will say that too. I'd much rather deal with somebody high than somebody drunk. And, you know, you just learn that, you know, drunk people suck.
Yeah.
Drunk people just suck in general. You know?
Well, it's that lack of caring suddenly about anything that they do. So
You're
they're
right.
going to be the loudest, obnoxious person that they can be.
I think personally, the only people that annoy me more than drunk people are coked up people.
I've never dealt with that person.
Drunk, coked up people.
Drunk, coked up people is actually usually what it is. But, you know, the coke kind of takes over for the drunk part because then they drink like crazy. But, you know, it's something about cocaine that makes people just completely self-centered, self-absorbed. They don't shut up.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine, a hell of a drug. But you don't, you know, and one of the things I used to notice in parties is like you'd have that coke group and they would like, it's a very exclusive group. And then you had the marijuana group, and that was a very inclusive group. You know, if somebody brought some bud, they knew that everybody around them was probably going to smoke that with them. But if you bring some coke, and I've been in rooms where, because I, you know, maybe twice in my life I tried it, and I was like, this is the dumbest drug in the world, you know, and I've never really never done it again. But I've been around plenty of people, and I'm like, whatever, I'm not judging them for it necessarily. At least not while I'm there. I'm judging them right now. But like one of the things I notice is like nobody, you know, when you're smoking a bowl or you're smoking a joint, you're not like, dude, you took a bigger hit than I did. But man, coke people are like, man, that line was bigger than mine. How come your line was bigger than mine? I'm like, how can you? They look the same to me. Yeah. You know what? You know, it's just that I just can't stand being around that anymore. You know, now I've gotten older, but that's one of the things I think that I've noticed is just the culture of it is different. And if you're surrounded by a bunch of coked up people, just leave. It's so frustrating. You can't have a conversation with them, especially if you're high and they're coked up. It's just the worst combination of people to be around.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get high. You know, I mean, I medicate every day for the last 4 years. So.
Oh, so you're saying you're not high right now?
Oh, well, the edibles in Colorado are strong. Yeah. But to be where, like, because high, you know, I'm so literal definitive. Like, am I euphoric? Am I tripping?
I got you.
I mean, you know, I was at a concert where we were smoking these 10-gram joints, you know, and I'm like, this is cool, but I'm not going to dance to this music. You know, I'm laughing at the people that look like chickens kind of dancing. But, you know, I mean, I'm not. You know, I can see what you're saying, like, oh, you get coked up and you're like that, and I'm high. But I think I'm always kind of, maybe this is my sober. I think that's really what I'm trying to say. I always feel like this.
You always feel like
this. I'm
this.
just kind of like, you know, I'm just like, if someone's acting like how you're, you know, describing, I would just be like, my God, yeah, I wouldn't spend 5 seconds around.
No, it's very difficult too. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And this is my normal, so it's not, even if I was really sober, I would still be like, what in God's name are you? This is not marijuana.
I know. Christian's looking at me, he's like, dude, you're 7 minutes over. We've been just kind of shooting the shit here and just.
Well, we're with Tokin Daily, so it's a special episode.
It is a special episode. It's always a special
episode.
It
is always a special episode.
Well, before we go, Paul, could you just remind our listeners where they can check out your vlog? Is that the right way to say it, vlog? Because it's a video blog?
I guess. I rarely actually say it myself.
Okay.
But you can find it on YouTube. And the show is called Tokin Daily. So if you just want to search for Tokin Daily, that will bring it up. You can search for my username on YouTube, TokinGLX, or you can just type in the web address, youtube.com/TokinGLX.
Right on. Well, Paul, thanks so much for joining us. Thanks for getting your message out there, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and so definitely check out Tokin Daily on YouTube and see what Paul's been up to. I know I will be doing that from now on, actually. Thanks for listening to us today. I hope you guys are getting home safe or got home safe already from this crazy rain. As awesome as it is, though, I love it. It's kind of... It's almost humid out, which is like really
It is.
cool.
It's weird for Denver.
It's weird for Denver. Now, this would be considered still dry from the East Coast, which is where I'm from. But to us, this is humid, here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Kind of a fun little mellow show today. I think it was the rain kind of. We're mellow, it's all chill. And make sure to check us out next week. I believe we're going to have the guys from the 710 Cup joining us next week. Which is another new cup coming on, but focused on concentrate specifically. So we'll be talking with those guys next week. Thanks for listening to the Hemp Connoisseur Radio. Thank you, Sam, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you come in. And Paul, until next time, man. We'll see you guys again. Peace, love, and hempiness.
Cheers, everybody.